All right. Have you ever wondered what makes a wine vegan or vegetarian? Or say that, okay, I'm just going to refresh here. Ah, yes, here we are. Or what's the difference between, say, vegan and vegetarian wines and organic or gluten free or biodynamic? There just seems to be all sorts of different categories these days, which are interesting and exciting but can be confusing. Well, our guest tonight is going to explain all of this to us because he makes some wonderful vegan and vegetarian wines at his winery. But before I jump into that, I just wanted to welcome you here. I'm Natalie McLean, editor of Canada's largest wine review site at nataliemclean.com. And we gather every Sunday at 6 p.m. Eastern, that's Toronto, New York time, to talk to the most interesting people in the world of wine. Now, just before I introduce my guest fully tonight, in the comments, yes or no, have you ever tried a vegan or a vegetarian wine? Yes or no? You can add which one it was if you remember or if you wish. But I would love to know. So I want to welcome Paul is here, and so is Andrea, and Lori Kilmartin is here. Terrific, guys. Welcome, everyone. So let me get to it here. All right, welcome to the Sunday Sipper Club, Ezra Sipes. Hello, Ezra.
Hi.
Hi,
Hi.
great. All right, let's get you back here. Okay, so this is, I mean, there's tell me, folks, if you're having any trouble with the sound. Christy, I think you're the only one. Monique is here. Anne is here. Welcome. Interesting topic. No, I haven't tasted vegan wine, so you guys must be hearing me. John Higgins, just at the winery on Wednesday, and was very impressed. Loved their Riesling chef. Jeremy was amazing. Great tour. Yes. All right. Okay. Okay, folks. So let's get going here. This is great topic. A lot of interest in this even before we started tonight. But before we go right into it, Ezra, can you tell me the exact moment when you realized that you wanted to leave the music industry and come back to wine? I know you've grown up on the family winery, but what really made you come back to it?
It was just all of the currents of my life led me there. My dad was shifting his role at the winery. He had professional management coming in for the first time. My partner, Rio, her family lived in Kelowna. We were in Vancouver together, and she thought, "Oh, wouldn't it be nice to move back there? That'd be a great place to have kids." And my
My
brother
brother
Gabriel.
Gabriel was really encouraged me. He said, it's time for us to go back. And I just read the signs. That was
Oh,
it.
oh, wow. Okay,
Yeah.
read the signs. That could have double meaning for us tonight here. That sounds fantastic. So, if we kind of look at the sort of the best and the worst so far of your wine career, maybe what is your, I like to call it your favorite failure? Sort of something that happened, but you took a lot away from it. You learned something, it made you better at what you do or who
Oh,
you are.
well, I've learned to be more prepared, which is something I didn't do that well for this interview. But we've put on it. I've gotten by, a lot of the times on, charm. My dad, when I was little, he told me, "Show up and look good." That's half the battle. And I've done that a few times until we did a seminar when we first were biodynamic, when we first got our Demeter certification in 2012. And everybody in the West Coast wine industry came out to see Eric von Krosik, Summerhill's winemaker, and me. And we put on a little seminar about it. And that was kind of early days for biodynamics. People didn't really know about it. So I really wanted to demystify it, and I wanted to um, explain it simply in its fundamental things, I didn't want to talk about anything that could be construed as like witchcrafty or like moon cycles or anything like that. I wanted to say like, what was the meaning for the wine?
What does
Right.
it do for the wine? How does it relate to the wine? And why does a healthy ecosystem in a vineyard make good wine? And so we just showed up and talked about it, and it was
A little bit of a miss. I kind of regret that one. I learned a lot from it. People in their feedback said, you should have brought a cow horn with you and showed us, the preparations and all this stuff. They wanted the mystery. They wanted all of the accoutrements of biodynamics and the show.
Right.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, that
Messed
sounds
that
like it
one
was a
up.
great experience. Welcome, Rochelle O'Connor and Andrea Shapiro and Paul Hollander. Excellent. Okay, now take us to the best moment. One of your favorite moments so far of your wine career. I'm sure there'll be more, but what stands out?
Well, the best moments of the wine career are always in enjoying wines and in when wine when we're in the trade, we're analytical about it, right? We learn how to taste analytically, and to evaluate a wine and things like that. But the best wines, you just feel them, and they just send electricity through your body. And those are the best moments. That's what it's all about. That's why we do it. That's when you know it's good and when you're really creating something beautiful or experiencing something beautiful.
Excellent. Fantastic. All right. So, folks, if you are enjoying this chat and you're going to enjoy it, take a moment right now to share this video with your friends, family, anybody you think that might be interested in it. And even better, tell them why. What we're talking about tonight, why they might want to join in and join the fun. So at the end of our chat tonight, I will be announcing a winner from last week's show based on who shared the video with Dan Speck, and they'll be winning a couple of bottles of Henry of Pelham wines. And tonight, if you share this video and make a comment and so on, Ezra has 3 wines that we're going to taste tonight, but we've also got these wines for our contest winner that we'll announce next week. So get sharing. All right. So Ezra, is there anything you can look back on now and maybe it was something that you were wrong about when it came to making wine that is really, you've changed your mind about it?
Well, yeah, I mean, I'm always learning. I'm not an expert in any sense of the word. And something that I was sort of told and what I was guided towards was about wine aging. And, the Okanagan Valley is a place where there's a lot of vintage variation.
Yeah.
There's like great years and challenging years. And I was sort of told that some of the opportunity of the challenging years is to make wines, red wines especially, that are very ageable, that have the acidity, have the tannins and so on, to have the structure to age. And so sometimes, we'd make a red wine and we'd think, oh, well, this is going to be an ugly duckling. And it's going to be a swan when it's older. And, then the years go by and sometimes it's true, but I've learned what it really needs to go the distance and when the wines fall short. And what they really need is the fruit and the phenolic ripeness. So it needs that as well as the structure. And that's something I've learned, that sometimes the wines fall apart before the tannins and the acid and everything comes into harmony. And there's not much to enjoy if they're like that when they're young. Sometimes they're like that when they're old. So I've learned quite a bit, which is something you only gain from experience, right?
Sure.
It's following these wines through.
Absolutely.
Is what makes a really ageable wine, and that's something I'm just sort of starting to really understand and develop an appreciation for. And I do love mature wines. That's where my heart is. It's my favorite
Yeah.
thing.
What is it about mature wines that you love especially?
I think the thing about wine is that, it's not an industrial product, right? It's not like
Right.
Coca-Cola. There's no recipe.
Right.
And so you have very few ingredients to make great wine. And one of them is time, right? The wine has a life. Just like an avocado is hard and then it's ripe and then it's brown over a much longer time span. A wine is a fresh product like that as well. And it has a progression and a life to it. And time is an incredible factor in wine appreciation.
Wow, that's a great way to put it. I love that element of time and not industrial. And folks, I'm just going to let me know if there is any sound issue when I go to the slides and pictures of Ezra's winery. That's Summerhill Pyramid Estate Winery. Is that correct, Ezra?
Summerhill Pyramid Winery. Officially.
Winery. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So as I move to the pictures, folks, do let me know if I don't have the sound on, but I wanted to just share some of these with you so that you can see
That's a good story,
Interesting.
actually.
Yeah?
You know what Kelowna used to be? When my family moved to Kelowna, it was like the roadside attraction place. There was
Oh,
Flintstones Park with 30-foot high dinosaurs made of fiberglass, and there was water slides and all sorts of stuff like that. And this great family, this man named Peter Sane, had a workshop. My dad made friends with him, and he made all that stuff for the old school, roadside attraction Kelowna. And my dad hired him to make that for the winery. And it's a little remnant of the old days of Kelowna. I just love it. And I love that story. You look back on that folk art and you realize that it was actually real. Like he was not appreciated as an artist, this man,
okay.
because it's folky and it's commercial. But looking back at his career and what he did, it was actually very cool, like culturally, like significant, I think. I think it's great.
Oh, wow. Okay. Okay. So I guess there is no sound with the slides. That's all right. We'll just carry on.
You heard me and that was it?
Yeah, we just
nobody
talked.
heard that?
No. I wasn't going to the slides. So,
Okay.
but yeah, all that. Anyway, we can have a moment of silence as we looked at slides. But okay. So, and what is the pyramid? How does the pyramid play a role in your winemaking? Because anyway, you take it from.
Yeah,
from
sure,
here. Yeah.
sure. Yeah, that was my dad's inspiration. My dad is the founder of Summerhill. I don't know if we said that.
Yeah.
Along with our winemaker, Eric, and my mom, who was there in the early days. And when, we take it for granted that wine kind of makes itself, and you grow the grapes right, and you create the right environment and the right conditions for the juice to turn into wine and to mature, and that's how you make great wine. We kind of take that for granted. But when you first get into the industry, that's sort of a profound realization to go through. And my dad had that insight when he was in Champagne, in the caves underneath the limestone soils of Champagne in France, where the bottles of sparkling wine age on the Lee.
Huh.
And that's when he really understood that the environment shapes the wine and it's part of the process. And he took that insight and said, I need to make a very special wine cellar. So he took the concept of sacred geometry, of these ratios that exist in nature, encoded it into this perfect geometry of the pyramid shape, and he aligned it to the stars. He built it with no metal and no electricity, and he made like a temple for aging wine, for cellaring wine.
And is there any allusion or nod to Egypt in the pyramids there, or is it just more just the geometry that's going on there?
For me personally, the way I think of it is about geometry and nature and that sort of esoteric wisdom of nature. Okay. But my dad is very interested in Egypt personally, and like he has some friends who are Egyptologists and interested in sort of ancient civilizations and these questions about what we think we know, the sort of the sort of accepted wisdom about when these monuments were built and by whom and for what purpose. Yeah. He's really into all those questions and thinking about ancient civilizations and what our real history might be, that we don't really understand. I mean, it's pretty fascinating. I don't know.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. And I just want to thank the following folks who've been sharing this video. Thank you so much. Lise Gagne, Cliff Hall, Lori Kilmartin, John Higgins. You guys are great. Let me just scroll down here. And there, Ezra shared it. Good. Yes. No, not right now. Jenny Newell, Mike Cleaver, and there are a bunch of others who I can't see exactly because you have your privacy settings set the way you want them. That is just fine. Thank you, folks, for sharing all of that. Sam Huck has joined us, and Madeline Hicks is here. Excellent. Okay, so let's get to the meat of this conversation, shall we? Sorry,
right.
The vegan and vegetarian. All right. So let's start off with what makes a wine vegetarian, Ezra?
Yeah, so animal byproducts come into winemaking in a process that we call fining, which is really a clarification process of winemaking. Mm-hmm. So there are sort of suspended solids in wine, in the tank, or in the barrel. And in the barrel with red wines, typically we will, like we talked about time, we'll just use the element of time and eventually they'll settle out. For white wines, sometimes we want to get them into the bottle when they're fresh and vibrant. So winemakers will add a clarifying agent, a fining agent. And what it does is you stir it in and it sort of, I don't know I'm not really a scientific person, so I may get this slightly wrong, but it basically binds, it has like an electrocharge, like a magnetic charge that binds with some of these suspended particles in the wine. And then they form larger and larger particles. And once they're of a certain weight, then they sink to the bottom of the tank or the barrel. And then you can draw the juice out from on top of them and have a clear wine. So that's fining. And it's distinct from filtering. It's a different process.
Okay.
Yeah.
And filtering
So-
would be just at a high level. What's filtering? How is it?
Filtering is like running the wine through a filter of some kind, like a
Okay.
sieve.
Like a
is
sieve.
filter,
Okay.
right?
Gotcha.
Yeah. So some of the common fining agents are animal products. Egg whites is a very common one. Milk byproducts. Isinglass is a very common one, which is derived from a sturgeon bladder, I believe. I think that they actually can be very useful in winemaking. I'm not a winemaker myself, but my understanding is that they can do nice things to the wine. Like red wines, we talked about tannins and acidity and all those things. And I was mentioning how time can bring those things into harmony. Well, I've been told that fining agents like egg whites can strip some of those things out of the wine and get them ready to drink at a younger age. Right?
Wow.
So they can be beneficial in that way,
Okay.
is my understanding. But we have decided not to use them because we don't want to strip anything out of the wine, right? We want the wine to have its core. We want it to have its authenticity and its sort of, what's the word I'm looking for? There's a word I'm looking for. I can't find it right now. But basically what I mean is we want it to have like its, I don't know. I think I said it. Spine and authenticity.
Yeah. Essence.
yeah.
It's soul.
It's essence. Yeah, sure. Sure, that works too. Yeah.
Yeah. I get it.
Yeah, we want it to be what it truly is. We don't want to remove anything from it that we don't have to.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Okay. And so Sam Hawk says greetings, Ezra and Natalie.
I know Sam.
And yeah,
Hi, Sam.
he teaches wine classes in BC.
Yeah, he does.
As you
I see
know.
him at all the wine festivals.
Oh, excellent. It's Old Home Week. Monique Souza says, wow, fascinating story behind your winery. It must have been interesting growing up in your household. The conversations at dinner must have been fascinating too. What was your most memorable conversation at home, if you can remember when you were
Oh, God.
growing? Yeah, lots of discussions.
Memorable conversations. I don't know if it's suitable for the broadcast.
Sit up
But yes,
straight.
and it continues to be interesting at my home. I have my dad is very much engaged at the winery, and I have 3 brothers and a little sister now too, who's only 7 years old. So we continue to have interesting family conversations about all
Wow.
sorts of subjects. Yeah.
Extended family.
Pyramids,
Yeah, that's fantastic.
biodynamics, organics, and yeah, my dad. You know what he's on about now? He's on about he's got a committee called Organic Okanagan, and he wants the whole Okanagan Valley to go organic by 2020, which
Wow.
is not very far away
No.
from now. And so a lot of our conversations, our family, are rooted around that activism and what we can do to encourage these things and change people's mind, not just farmers and in the vineyards, but also how the school district manages its sports fields, and the city manages the sides of the highways, and how neighbors manage their yards and all that stuff, and how people can think about having a more harmonious relationship with the earth. Those are the conversations we're having now. Kind of, yeah,
Big
as a family.
goals. Yeah.
Yeah.
Short
pretty cool.
timeline, big goals. That's admirable. Really,
Yeah.
it is. Paul Hollander says, I use isinglass when brewing beer. It combines the solid proteins to clarify the beer. Yes. Gwen Barton has joined us. Lori says, how much longer does it take without those to settle sediments and you let it happen naturally? Okay, so without fining, how long does it take for all the sediment to
That's
settle?
a good question.
Yeah.
Okay, so I will say with our white wines, most of our white wines, we do use a fining agent. We use bentonite, which is a very fine clay. It's a mined, elemental material, and that has the same effect as a fining agent. I mean, it acts slightly differently on the wine, but that's what we use for our white wines to get clear white wines. We do have some labels, white wine labels, that we produce very biodynamically, and we've toyed with the idea of releasing some cloudy white wines, although we haven't yet. And red wines, most of our red wines, the vast majority of them are unfined. and we barrel age them and let them sit until we can rack the liquid off of the solids in it, and it naturally falls out.
Awesome. And so why wouldn't everybody use bentonite or vegan-friendly clarifying agents as opposed to the egg whites and the fish bladders?
Yeah, I think bentonite is fairly commonly used. It's not, we're not the only ones who use it. My understanding is that all of the different tools have their place, right, for what you want to use them for.
Sure.
So it's sort of, it's a choice that we've made, sort of an ideological choice that we've made to not use them. And I told you why. It's for the integrity of the wine, which is the word I was looking for. Integrity. Yeah.
There you go.
The integrity of the wine. We don't want to take anything out of it.
Right.
But that is an ideological choice, and it is not the only choice to make. Right?
Okay. Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. All right. And so what would be the difference then between a vegetarian wine and a vegan wine?
I don't think there would be a difference. Well, I guess, I don't know. I guess you could use, if you're an ovo-lacto vegetarian, I guess you could use eggs and milk and still call it vegetarian. I don't know.
Okay. Oh, wow. Okay. And just a few little more definitions. The difference between vegan wines and gluten-free wines?
Gluten-free wines is a funny one. That's just a trendy thing, isn't it? Like the gluten-free label on things. I'm pretty sure all wines are gluten-free.
Okay.
Fairly certain. If anybody's putting it on their label, it's probably just to cash in on a trend.
Yeah, because they're made from fruit. There's no wheat
I think there might be, when you have like a barrel, like an old school cooper, might use like wheat paste in between the staves.
Right.
I don't know. Maybe. Could be.
It's like advertising calorie-free water or something.
Yeah, exactly. I think so. That's what I think so.
Marketing. Yeah. Marketing. So if the label doesn't say vegan on it, are there tips or words that we can look for that might indicate it's a vegan wine?
Yeah. If you see a wine that says unfined on it, you could, and you are a vegan and you really care from a perspective like, religious or whatever it is, that you need to have vegan food, everything needs to be vegan, then unfined, it's probably a pretty safe bet that it's vegan.
Okay, great. I'm going to do another short test because I want to be able to share some slides, folks, but I'm going to go to the share slide, and you can let me know if you can hear me, and then I'm going to go to another set of slides, which I think the sound is working, but you guys let me know. You're good at that. All right. So if you are enjoying this conversation, please take a moment to share it. We will be drawing for a prize at the end of tonight. I'm just talking about sharing that, so hopefully you're hearing me as I went to that slide. From last week's guest, so a couple of bottles of Henry F. Pelham's wines. Next week, if you share this video, comment, etc., it'll be 3 wines from Ezra Sipes' Summerhill Pyramid Winery. So please let your friends and family know. And then I'm going to go to one more set of slides just to see if you can still hear some beautiful vineyard shots here. But I'm not sure if you are catching this. Also some food shots here. Nice pairings, vegetarian pairings, and so on. And then finally, back to Ezra's. Might be a silly question, but is it mainly vegans and vegetarians who drink vegan wine?
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure. Well, no, obviously not, because our wines are for everybody, and if vegetarians and vegans were the only ones who were drinking them, we'd probably be out of business. I like putting it on the labels, though, for everybody, because I think it's a nice thing to think about, Like, I am not vegan, personally. I was vegetarian for quite a few years, but actually started eating meat when I moved back to Summerhill and sourced grass-fed organic beef with our chef at the time, Grant DeMontre, and I was a vegetarian for environmental reasons, health reasons. I thought this factory farm meat can't be good for the planet or for my body. But then when we found that farm, I thought, all the reasons I became a vegetarian, I could probably eat this. And I still am aware of the meat I eat, and I don't take it for granted, like it's a big deal. There's a lot of resources. It's an animal's life. You got to honor and respect that and be aware of what you put in your body and the choices you make as a consumer. So I think that it's just a nice thing for everybody, whether they're a vegan or vegetarian or not, to think about and to see on a label and to reflect on. I think it's just a good values and good thing to put out into the world. You know.
Absolutely, absolutely. And you know what twigged this whole idea, as I was sharing with you, Ezra, before we started, was the excellent article by Beppe Crosariel, the columnist for the Globe and Mail. He had profiled you in this article along with a couple of other winemakers, but he had some interesting stats there. 2.3% of the Canadian population declares themselves vegan, which is about 870,000 people, so not a huge percentage. And then they estimate that for every vegan, I guess vegetarian too, they save 200 animal lives a year by not eating the meat. Anyway, I just was fascinated by the statistics of it. Yeah. So kind of interesting. And that why people become vegans and vegetarians, the sort of the caring for animal life, the environment, you know, and of course, health issues, depending on what you believe. So, but can you, back to vegan wines, would it be perverse to pair your vegan wines with meat?
No.
No. Okay.
Actually, I'll say this. There was one chef who I won't mention who I felt like he wanted to throw me out of his restaurant. I went to pour him the wines, and he's like, vegan. I can't sell a vegan steak for more than, $20. Why would I want this wine? And he was like offended by it. But no, I don't think that was a rare reception. That was the exception. Most people, I don't think about it. I mean, I don't think that was the only time it's ever come across that way to anybody that I've noticed.
Okay. Yeah.
I think most people take it for what it is, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, let's take this for what it is. The Alive Organic White, and I'm going to hold it up close to the camera here. Beautiful label. But I was also reading in that article from Beppe that some of the restaurants don't want to see vegan on the label. It's a bold move that you made. What was the impetus of putting vegan on that front label here?
Well, this was the first wine. The Alive series is the first wine that we labeled as vegan. And then the year after that we put them on the Alive wine, we started putting them on all of our wines.
Okay.
We've been vegan for a long time, but we never put it on the label until Stephen Sheetal, who is the portfolio manager for North American wines at the BCLDB, who carries the Alive wines. Mm-hmm. He suggested that we put it on. He said, hey, Ezra, have you ever thought about putting vegan on your label? Did you know it's the most requested thing on the sales room floor for wine? Wow. More than organic, more than low alcohol, more than whatever else people are interested in. People are asking for vegan wines. And I had no clue that it was a thing or that people cared about that. We've been vegan for a long time. I said, sure, I'll put it on. Mm-hmm. And then I've grown to really like it and really think it's a very cool thing to have on there. But that's why it's now on all of our wines. That's cool. But I just thought it was, fascinating.
Yeah, and I wouldn't think it's as big a risk as declaring yourself organic in that, bad years, mildew, rot, disease, you might have to backpedal. Oh. But with vegan, I would think the clarifying agents are a little easier to control year on year.
Oh, I see what you mean. Like less risky as a producer.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. There's no need for animal byproducts in the winemaking process. You don't need them. Right. They're a nice thing to have if you want to use them. Yeah.
Absolutely. Okay, Stephen
by the way,
yeah.
Same with organic.
Yes.
You don't need any synthetic anything to have a healthy organic vineyard or control mildew. Yes, you're operating without a safety net. Yeah. Yes, if you have mildew, then there's not much you can do about it as an organic producer. You can keep it at bay, but you can't. It's very hard to deal with it once you have a bad infection. But that just means you have to work hard to prevent it and to have a good ecosystem. And we've been doing this for 30 years now, organically.
Wow. And
we've learned a lot along the way. And it is not at all impossible for any farmer of any scale to do.
Okay. Well, there you go. Stephen Andrews from Waterloo was asking, is not all wine vegan? You might have tuned in a little later, Stephen, after we got through the definitions part of the evening. But yes, if the finding agent is egg white, fish bladder, is there another one that's a animal
I think
product?
The milk byproducts, casein, I think is what what the commonly used one is.
Yeah, that would make it not a vegan wine, Stephen. So Ezra uses bentonite clay. So and Lori is saying, Stephen, so no, not if. She's replying to Stephen. Gotcha. Okay, so let's taste this one, Ezra. The Alive Organic White. Here we go. So you've got the same wine there. And this is so lovely and floral. It is reminding me of walking through this meadow that's on the label. So the significance of the various
Can I tell you about that?
Yes, please do.
All of those plants and things are what's growing in the vineyard. So there's a chicken feather. We got chickens on the farm. Where's the camera?
There it is.
Can you see it?
Yep.
We've got clover, which is a plant we encourage on the vineyard ground cover.
Yep.
We have dandelion right there.
Yeah.
And horsetail and yarrow flowers. And those are three things that we make biodynamic preparations out of to aid.
Okay.
Well, I'm really bad at this, talking and using the camera.
Yeah, me too.
Anyway, they're all things that we use to make our fertilizers and preparations for mildew control, and or that we encourage on the property to keep the ecosystem vibrant and healthy. So that's the story of that label.
Awesome. This is a lovely wine. Nice and floral, springy, fresh. Beautiful. Is it a blend?
It's a blend. So the Alive wines, we blend them with sort of a goal in mind, which is to be extremely user-friendly. You know, a wine that that we know everybody is going to like. They're dry wines, so some people don't like overly aromatic wines. They're dry, light wines, but they have enough aromatics to keep them interesting and fresh and vibrant and kind of just delicious, right? I love aromatic wines. I think it's delicious.
Yeah.
They're dry wines. They're not so dry that they're searing. Well, I call them like California dry. So it's kind of like under 6 grams per liter of residual sugar. And by the way, that's unfermented grape juice is what that sugar is. There's no sugar added.
Right. So no chaptalization.
So they really kind of hit all the marks. You want a dry, light wine rather than a sweet aromatic wine, but it just has a little bit of aromatics and not so dry that it's searing or painful to drink. So that's how we blend the white wine. And
this is not painful at all.
No, this one is super. This is young, right? This is 2017, and it still has. Yours flew over the country to get to you. Mine came right from the cellar where it was made. So I don't know about yours, but mine still has like a little bit of frizzante, like the carbon dioxide that was just a product of the carbonation is still like in the wine. Like it's very, very fresh.
Yeah. Oh, it's lovely though. I smell the meadow and the bees. It's very, very lovely. Oh my goodness. And the price point on this is about, is it?
We in BC it is, I think, $18.50, I believe.
Awesome.
Is what it is. Pre-tax.
And I know everything's been going on in the courts and everything, but do you have a wine club or do you ship?
Oh, goodness me. Yeah, it's our constitutional right. Of course we ship.
Okay, well, you're heard it here, and I'm happy to promote that. Excellent. And Lori has a great question. Many people say they're allergic to sulfur. Do vegan and vegetarian wines have less sulfur?
Organic wines have less sulfur. So, sulfur. I've met one person who is allergic to sulfur. She works in the hotel trade. Her name is Star. And Star came to visit us at Summerhill, and we were crushing grapes. It was harvest. So we were out on the crush pad, and Star's like, I can never drink wine. I'm allergic to sulfur. And we're like, oh, well, this is your lucky day. You can drink the wine juice before it starts fermenting. We haven't added any sulfur to it. And Star had a sip of the juice and started having an allergic reaction.
Oh, no.
Just from the sulfur that is present in grapes. Right. So that is a sulfur allergy. Yes. Okay? Very few people are allergic to sulfur. But sulfur, you can be sensitive to it in larger amounts, and it can dull the character of wine in larger amounts. So I think the CFIA allows up to 350 parts per million of sulfur added to wine.
CFIA? Who's the CFIA?
CFIA, the Canada Food Inspection Agency.
Gotcha.
So like the health rules around making wine
Gotcha.
are that there is 350 parts per million of sulfur allowed.
Yeah.
And then under the organic program, you are allowed up to 100 parts per million of sulfur per liter, I think. Okay. I'm not sure. 100 parts per million. I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know how that works.
That's
but anyway,
all right.
100 parts per million.
Yeah.
And under organic. So there's
Yeah.
could be less, I think is the answer.
And you're both organic and biodynamic, are you, as well?
Yeah. Yeah,
Okay.
our vineyard in Kelowna is certified by Demeter as a biodynamic vineyard.
Okay.
And that is, I think, the world's first organic certification and still one of its most stringent. It has extra rules above and beyond organic. So organic is sort of the baseline, which
Yeah.
means that there's no synthetics being used, basically. And then there's guidance on things they want to see about soil preservation and biodiversity and things like that. But biodynamics really codifies that. You have to have at least 10% of your farm given over to nature habitat. And we have, I think, about 20 or 25% of our farm that's wetland. We have a dry land. We have a meadow habitat. And then you really view the farm as an ecosystem. You integrate animals and animal manures, and you really focus on making your own fertilizers from things you grow on the farm. And so we make a horsetail tea for mildew control. We make large amounts of compost, and we add these herbal preparations to the compost to aid processes of decomposition. We spray a special preparation called Prep 500, which is basically a bacterial broth that we spray all over the farm that aids the life force, if you will, in the soil, but basically the soil food web, all of the mycorrhiza and beneficial bacteria and all that stuff that lives in the soil. It's like a starter preparation for those things to establish.
Awesome. Do you
So
also
that's
bury the
biodynamic.
bull's horns, or do you also bury the bull's horns? Yes.
Yeah. The way you make those preparations is really far out. It's really cool, actually. My brother Gabriel is the farm's biodynamicist, and he
Okay.
makes all of this stuff. And it's really cool. And it has an element of spirituality to it. He times the things he does with the moon. He packs the manure of a lactating cow into a cow's horn and buries it under a moon phase in one season and digs it up under another season. And it's quite beautiful, actually. It really connects him to the universe, gives him meaning in his life. And it's quite amazing to see the transformation that happens in those cow horns. It's wet cow manure when it comes in, and when it comes out, it's like this cakey, black substance with all the white mycorrhiza running through it. It smells like sweet earth. Like, it's really quite an incredible transformation. And then we use that to make the brews, and he stirs it. It's quite beautiful.
Yeah, and what I've heard too about biodynamics, no matter what you think of it, it's closer attention to the vineyard, to the land, to the seasons, and that has to be a good thing, whether or not you believe in biodynamics or not. Like, even if you're a big skeptic, I still think it means paying very close attention to your vines and so on.
Yeah. Well, it's been demonstrated there's more earthworms in biodynamic farms than either organic or conventional farms.
Okay.
That's been a sort of a scientifically proven thing.
Oh,
And I think that's a
fantastic.
pretty good indicator that the farms are healthier.
Absolutely. Rochelle O'Connor says, very cool, Ezra. There are so many amazing organic farmers and talented winemakers that are creating outstanding products. Hats off to you. I love what you're doing and predict there will be many more vegan choices on restaurant menus and wine lists in the years to come. Awesome.
Nice.
Okay, and Stephen
you.
Andrews is going to mention your wines to all his vegan friends. Ezra, your dad has a book on spirituality. How much has this translated into your life? Oh, I didn't know that. Is that true?
Yeah. My dad just wrote a book. I think he's revising it for a second edition called
Okay.
The All One Era.
Ah,
And hugely, profoundly, it's funny. It's like my dad is a entrepreneur. He always has been. He was driven in business and to make money and to succeed in life at an early age. He actually retired to the Okanagan and couldn't stay out of business. He opened the winery as his retirement project. And with all of these values in everything we do and everything we purchase and the choices we make as a winery, there always is a deeper meaning beyond just making money. Of course, it's a business, and of course, you have to make money or else you are not in business. But if my only purpose in life every day was to wake up and make money, I don't think I would be as happy a person as I am, right? And I don't
Yes.
think Summerhill would be as amazing a place as it is. right? Those values
Yes.
are, we get wonderful staff who come because it's a values-driven organization and because it is a spiritual place, for lack of a better term, a place that takes into account just the sacredness of life and the meaning of people's time and energy,
This is so holistic. I'm loving this. And at least 27 people agree with you. They've already shared this video. So I want to give a shout out to the folks who are really supporting us here tonight and sharing the video with their friends and loved ones and vegans and meat eaters alike. So Dave Head, thank you. The wine teacher, that would be Sam Hawk. Courtney Flood has shared it. Sarah Galvin and Rochelle O'Connor, Monique Souza, and I think I name-checked the rest of you earlier in this session. But thank you so much for taking the time to do that. All right, so let's take a look at your vegan red wine,
Sure.
Ezra. I'll hold that one up too. Another beautiful field-like label. Very nice. All right. So do you have a favorite pairing for this red?
Well, just like the white, the red is blended to be extremely versatile and just to go with just about anything.
Yep.
It will go great with, red meats. And, right? There's no question about it. It's got everything that a wine needs to stand up to that kind of food.
Grass-fed beef, though. Grass-fed.
I prefer grass-fed beef myself. That's what I eat.
Vegan cows, at least.
Yeah, right. Well, look, that's how cow stomachs are designed, is to digest grass.
That's true. The ruminants. Now, you've got quite an interesting wine glass there. Hold that one up, please.
Yes, this is my favorite red wine glass. Is an earthenware goblet.
Oh, wow. Very
it's
Game
so
of
funny.
Thrones.
my wife brought these goblets home from a thrift store, and I was like, "Oh, get those out of here!" I said to her, "I will never drink out of those. You'll get no bouquet," and da 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 da. I was totally snobby about the wine glass thing, and then I started drinking from them, and I was like, "Ooh, red wine tastes good." I just got this primal appreciation for it, and they become my favorite red wine glasses. These goblets, yeah, I love them.
Feeling very Henry VIII or something medieval.
Yeah, there's something about it. It feels
Game of Thrones.
good. It's good to drink out of them. Yeah.
Yeah.
Connected, rooted.
Absolutely. Yeah, this is lovely, lovely wild field berry aromas. Very juicy too, very mouth-watering wines.
Juicy. That's my word for it.
Makes my mouth salivate just saying the word juicy. So very nice. Awesome. So what would be the big challenges in making a vegan wine? Is there anything in particular that's more challenging about making a vegan wine than a non-vegan wine?
Yeah. I mean, it's just less tools, right?
Okay, yeah.
You have less tools, so you have to get it more right in the vineyard. That's all it is.
Okay.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. This wine, by the way, is a very Okanagan wine. I think there's 3 different grapes in here.
Okay.
It's mostly Syrah and Merlot, and some Cab Franc. And Syrahs are developing a reputation from the Okanagan Valley because they're quite distinct, right? They have it doesn't taste like the Rhone, it doesn't taste like Australia, it tastes like the Okanagan Valley, and it tastes good.
Yeah.
So Syrahs are kind of a thing, and Merlots could be a thing from the right sites in the Okanagan Valley. Merlots can be incredibly expressive from the Okanagan. They can be very structured and age-worthy and quite beautiful and much more right bank Bordeaux than Central Valley, California, right?
Awesome.
From the Okanagan Valley.
Yeah.
However, people plant Merlot because at the time they were planting it, everybody was buying Merlot. So people weren't really thinking about site and growing it for quality wine when they were planting it. So like I say, there's a caveat when I say Merlots could be a great wine from the Okanagan Valley if they're planted and grown to be a great wine from the Okanagan Valley. And then Cabernet Franc, which is also, of course, does very well in Ontario and the Okanagan, also very expressive. So this is a real blend of winners from the Okanagan and blended to be versatile, to be juicy,
very
to be
vibrant.
smooth,
Yep.
to have some structure but not dry out your mouth or make you pucker.
Yeah, absolutely.
Beautiful mouthfeel.
Yeah, no, it's great. It's great. It's like I can see it for like a large gathering, but yet it's not boring or anything. It's not going to polarize people.
and this was fermented actually in 10,000 liter oak tanks.
Oh,
This was the
okay.
natural yeast that live
Yeah.
in the tank, and you can taste that in it. You can taste a certain thing that's not necessarily fruit. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
It's like it's what I love about a lot of French wines and European wines is that sort of tasting the environment, tasting the cellar, you know,
Yes.
and that really specific character that comes from a cellar. And I love that about this wine. It makes it very not boring.
Yes,
Right.
very non-boring. Yeah, these are quite the tasting notes. Not painful to drink, very non-boring. It's
So we
like-
should go with the positives. We should figure out how to say that in a positive way.
I think that's damning with faint
Exciting.
praise. Yeah, exactly. And Monique Souza says, she has a great question. I'm not sure if you mentioned, what would be the difference between natural wines and vegan vegetarian wines? Is there
Yeah,
much of a
yeah.
divide?
That's a good question. Natural wines is an undefined term.
Right.
When I think of natural wines, like I think these wines you would probably call like natural enough, right? So there is some ideology behind them, but there's also some things that we do, like the addition of sulfur, up
Yeah.
to 100 parts per million, to make sure that they taste like sort of a mainstream definition of wine, right? That they
Okay,
don't
yeah.
sort of spoil, become oxidative, develop volatile acidity, things like that. They don't spoil.
Right.
Natural wine I think of as wines where the ideology trumps that and they could be allowed to spoil. Not always. That's kind of a weird thing to say but I would say natural wines are more ideological than these, and they will have less or no sulfites added would be the difference between these wines and something that somebody would term a natural wine. I would call these a natural enough wine.
Natural enough. I
Yeah.
like that.
You know where I got that expression
Where?
from?
Where?
It's from the champion of natural wines, Alice Firing.
Firing, yes.
Yeah,
Okay,
I
yeah.
was lucky
She's
enough
written
to
books about that.
yeah,
Yeah.
I tasted wine with her in Nova Scotia. We were both there for the Atlantic Wine Symposium, and I got to share wine with her over the course of 2 days. And what a fascinating, brilliant person she is. I love tasting wines with her, and she gave me that expression, natural enough, which
great.
I think is the right word for it. Yeah.
That's fantastic. Awesome. Good question, too. Lori asked, do you use natural yeasts? I would think.
Yeah.
Yes.
So part of the organic certification is everything that we use in the production cellar is what we have to like list it. It's like a bureaucratic process, and we have to submit it to our organic certifier. So we have to have a paper trail with receipts and so on for everything that we use in our production process, and they have to meet certain criteria. One thing is no GMOs. So a lot of commercial yeasts these days are genetically modified to have certain outcomes. So we're not allowed to use any genetic modified yeasts. And we do use some commercial yeasts for some products, but for many other products we don't. For instance, this red wine is just the yeast that lives in the cellar and in those tanks.
Right.
So I hope that answered the question.
That's the right. Yeah, absolutely. And Madeline Hicks was asking the grapes in the white, which I think we reviewed, but just quickly.
We didn't, actually.
Oh, no. Okay. Good. Madeline
Yeah.
for reminding us. Kerner, Pinot Gris, and Gewürztraminer?
It's mostly Kerner and Pinot Gris is the
Okay.
bulk of the blend. So
Yeah.
really the base of this wine is Kerner, which is a part of the Okanagan's history. It's a Germanic varietal
Yeah.
wine. Variety is the way to say it. It's a Germanic variety that was planted in the Okanagan in the late 70s as some of the test blocks to see whether vinifera would survive the winters here and make decent wine.
Okay.
Yeah, it's related to Riesling and all that kind of stuff. And we ferment it quite dry, and it's quite a steely, acidic, sort of Germanic. It really gives the wine its backbone.
Right.
And then we blend that with Pinot Gris to give it a little bit more mouthfeel and lusciousness. And those are two dry wines. And then we blend in very small percentages of aromatic wines, and it varies from year to year. This year it was Chardonnay, I think, actually. Gewürztraminer,
yeah.
and what else?
Riesling?
Riesling, maybe?
Riesling, yeah.
Yeah.
That's what's on the
Yeah,
back
just
label. Yeah.
a pinch of those wines, just a few percentage each. There might have been a little bit more Gewürztraminer than Chardonnay and Riesling in this blend, but just basically it's like using your spice cabinet, right? Just to bring up the aromatics, bring up the mouthfeel, whatever it is you want, bring up the acidity, whatever you want to do with those little blending agents.
Absolutely. All right. I do not want to miss this third wine, your Blanc de
Oh
Blanc.
yeah.
And Stephen Andrews, I see your question, and I'm going to ask Ezra to get back to you on the Pinot in the comments after this, because you're thinking of ordering some. So I will get Ezra to connect with you after this. So the Blanc de Blanc, what is this? All Chardonnay, or what's in here?
This is 100% Chardonnay, and this is a pre-release.
Ah,
So we're just about to release this wine
Okay.
any day now. It's just about to become available. It's sitting in the pyramid. It was, excuse me, disgorged, which means this is a traditional method sparkling wine, so it was aged with the yeast in the bottle. So
Okay.
we removed the yeast from each individual bottle only about 6 weeks ago.
wow, that's
And-
nice.
Yeah, isn't that beautiful?
Yeah.
And
Oh,
this is a 2012 vintage, so we really let
Okay.
it sit and develop. And Natalie, let me just point out to you just the mouthfeel of the
Yes,
bubbles, the
yes.
creaminess, the texture.
Absolutely. It's
Isn't
so
that
rich.
beautiful?
It is.
And once again, to go back to time, it's the only way to accomplish that.
Yeah.
That kind of bubble architecture.
It's also a gusher. It's great. It's very mouth-watering. I love it.
Is that what that means? Mouth, a gusher, like the
A
acidity?
gusher, yeah, the acidity, the waterfalls along
Yeah.
the sides of the mouth. It's great. I love it.
Yeah, that's a
love
good one.
it.
Okay, I gotta just make a plug for Chardonnay sparkling wine from the Okanagan Valley.
Go for it.
It's the best.
Okay.
We have a block of Chardonnay at Summerhill Vineyard, and that was planted with clones from Champagne, and it has a great illustrious history of recognition. In the year 2000, the Chardonnay cuvée Arcipes Gabriel from that block won a gold medal in France
Ooh,
at the Chardonnay du Monde. The
That's a
only
big
five
one.
five gold medals at the competition, four for Champagne and one for that wine.
Wow.
And then in 2010, the Blanc de Blanc won the Denby's Trophy for Best Bottle Fermented Sparkling Wine at the International Wine and Spirit Competition in London, England.
that's another tough one. Yep.
That's the top award for bottle fermented sparkling wine at that competition, the number one. And then it's won a gold medal at Decanter and, all sorts of other things. And this is the brand new vintage about to be released.
Fantastic. And I see the pyramid there on the
Yeah.
label. Very elegant, very different, but suited to this style of wine, the celebratory, elegant, beautiful champagne.
Thank you.
Champagne, sparkling wine. I almost got fooled there for a moment. No, it's lovely. Okay, so I do not want to run out of time before I ask you a few questions. You had a gadget there, speaking of sparkling wine,
Yeah.
that you wanted to share with us.
This is the indispensable wine gadget at my house.
Okay.
Because I'm a lightweight. Like I like to drink wine with
Yes.
food and everything. But I'll never finish a whole bottle. Even between me and my wife, we won't finish a whole bottle.
Right.
We are like a glass of wine a day kind of people. So I need wine to last on my counter or in my fridge. So this is the indispensable sparkling wine saver.
Okay.
Wah.
Yeah.
Right? So it's like spring loaded. Can you see?
Yeah.
It's like
Hold it up
spring-loaded.
there. Yeah. Gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it really
And then you
makes
grip
a
it.
nice seal. And then there's so much pressure in this bottle, so much carbon dioxide.
Yes.
So it rings under the glass there and keeps the pressure in.
Yeah,
So
you
this is
definitely
vital.
need that. You need that because those mushroom corks, you're never going to get that back in the bottle.
No
obviously.
way. And
yeah.
a cork, if you shove a cork back in there, what's going to happen is the carbon dioxide is going to fill up this space, right?
Okay. Yeah.
And it's going to create a lot of pressure. And in your fridge, you'll wake up the next day and the cork will be long gone out of the bottle. It'll eventually have blown.
Okay.
And there'll be
yeah.
sparkling wine everywhere, right? So yes, you need something that will really keep it in. So that is an
Yeah.
indispensable thing.
Fantastic. Good gadget. Thank you for sharing that with us. So Ezra, this has been fantastic. I can't believe how fast this has gone. We are at 5 to the hour. Is there anything that we have not covered that you wanted to mention as we wrap up this part of our conversation?
Oh,
No. Where can we find you online?
oh yeah, thank you. Yeah, we're summerhill.bc.ca, British Columbia, Canada.
Okay. And I know you're on social
that's
media.
That's where you can find us. And we do ship all over the country. And it's our policy, not just as a one-time thing or a special thing. We always do complimentary shipping
Okay.
on minimum orders of case lot orders. And we also have a really cool sort of innovative wine club program that we started. We have two. One's like a regular subscription service. And one's this thing called our ambassador program, it's almost like a points reward thing.
Okay.
But it's really good. It's 10% of what you buy. So if you spend $100, you get $10 credited to your account for your next purchase.
All right. Cool.
And if you tell your friends about it and they sign up on your recommendation, this is like our pyramid scheme, like multi-level marketing.
Pyramid scheme.
Yeah, you get 5%
Okay.
of what they buy on your account.
Okay.
That's why we call it our ambassador program.
Yeah.
Which is pretty good. And so there's no money. You can't make money doing it like a pyramid
Right.
scheme. You just get more wine, more organic wine.
That sounds
And
good.
it's only 2 levels. So it doesn't keep going and going and going. So I think it's pretty well designed, and people who recommend things can drink a lot of delicious organic wine.
Excellent. Sounds good. Diane Russell Kaiser, what is the name of the stopper? The champagne
I don't know what it's
stopper.
called. I think it's
Don't
called
know.
a champagne stopper.
Okay.
Is how we always term it when we order it.
I think there's a number of companies that make them, but it's,
Yeah,
I
this
think
one is like branded.
Yeah.
I don't know if you can see that, but that's
Yeah.
our little pyramid on the top. Can you see it?
Ah, okay, you've got your own. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think
so we
also
sell
if you
them in
go
our
on
wine shop.
Oh, you sell them. Okay. Well, there you can go. Another reason to go to their website. Oh, Sam. Hey, one of your best interviews ever. I know, because the guest was fantastic. Thank you, Sam.
Oh,
Lori,
thanks, Sam.
Yeah. Lori Sweet. She uses a Coravan. I like that device. And Lori, thank you for
yeah.
earlier for sharing this video. So Ezra, thank you so much for spending your time with us tonight. A wonderful conversation. We could have talked twice as long, I know, but we really appreciate, you being here tonight, and that all that you do to bring us these wonderful wines. Thank you.
Thank you so much. It was a real pleasure.
Okay, take
You
care.
and your audience.
Okay, take care. Bye-bye. All right, folks. I have a couple things to share with you, of course. I'm going to be telling you the winner of last week's contest, a couple of bottles of Henry Pelham wine before we wrap up. I'm going to be telling you about next week's guest. She's very interesting. You're going to want to know who she is. Before I do that, in the comments below, please, what was the most interesting point for you tonight, or the thing you learned, or what did you like most? I also want to let you know that the people who are members of our course, Get Wine Smart, we are over there in about 5 minutes' time to taste some wonderful rosés for spring. So come on over to the Facebook group for that if you're a member of the course Get Wine Smart. All right, next week's guest, let me tell you about her. She is Mary Ewing Elling. She was one of the first women to become a Master of Wine in the United States. She lives in New York City, and with her husband, Ed McCarthy, they wrote the original first Wine for Dummies book. But she also teaches courses. She's got more books, lots more books that have come out since then, and she's got a new book she's going to talk to us about. Super, super smart woman. So that'll be next Sunday at 6 p.m. So if you want to join us then, I hope you will. And as always, please take a moment as we wrap up to share this video. You could win one of Ezra Sipe's 3 wines. He's doing a 3-pack, so he's going to have the Blanc de Blanc and the Alive Red and the Alive White for someone for next week. We'll announce them next week. And of course, now I'm going to announce the winner from last week. Let me see. Here we go. There it is. The winner from last week. I need a noisemaker. All right. The winner from last week is Lois Gilbert. Lois Gilbert. All right. I'm not sure she's on tonight, but I'm sure she'll be around when she hears that she's the winner of a couple of bottles of Henry Pelham. So, Lois Gilbert, you are the lucky winner. And thank you, folks, for joining me. Yes, Sam, that Blanc de Blanc is amazing. Holy smokes. Okay, that is the only virtually spiritual vegan winery I've ever heard of. It. Wish it was in Ontario. Yes, Stephen. You guys are great. I love all your comments. And I'm glad you liked it. All right, so enjoy your Sunday evening, and I will see you here next Sunday at 6 p.m. Eastern Time, Toronto, New York time. So take care and enjoy whatever's in your glass this evening. Bye for now.